In our Sunrise Smart Start, the family of Zahira Amaya Smith, the 16-year-old girl who was killed over the weekend in Rochester, is looking for answers.
Zahira's grandmother receiving the frantic call telling her that her only granddaughter died attending a birthday party Saturday night. They know she was shot at a home on Emerson Street and not much more as police investigate. The family wants the community to know Zahira was more than Rochester's 29th homicide, adding they want people to understand what this family and far too many other families are going through.
This is hard for our family to believe, but it's happening every day, and we're going to have to stick together and just try to make it through moment by moment. Please, give us some sort of incentive for cameras for the people that maybe can't afford it, and so that we can get involved and we can begin to say that our city matters and that somebody is watching.
An 18-year-old girl was also shot and is recovering in the hospital from her wound. Neither girls were reportedly the target of that shooting.
Of course, we'll continue to follow the search for suspects in that case. In the meantime, bringing in James Gilbert with a check of the forecast. Rain on the docket for this Tuesday, James.
Yeah, certainly. If you look outside and you say, it's not raining, I'm not worried about it. Well, trust me, we've got rain on the way. We're tracking it as it already is pushing into Buffalo. Starting to see a couple of drops well onto the west side there. Rain is going to increase from west to east throughout the afternoon. Temperatures below average in the lower 70s, then we drop down into the 50s tonight. Rain showers, I would say, from about 11 a.m. to about 5 or 6 p.m. then they taper off. Next chance for rain will be in the 8-day forecast at the end of the show. Mark, Alley.
James, thank you. Checking the roads. Not hearing about any backups on 390, 490, or 590 at this hour, so that is good news for your commute. There is one accident in Rochester, North Street at Cumberland Street. We will keep you updated.
Governor Kathy Hochul signing new gun control bills into law yesterday. This coming after what Hochul refers to as twin tragedies in Buffalo and Uvalde, where the suspects in the mass shootings were both 18 years old. The new laws restrict the purchase of body armor for people not authorized, implements microprinting and ammunition, and raises the age of purchasing a semi-automatic weapon to 21.
Gun violence is a disease that is tearing our nation apart. And it is now the #1 killer of children in America. How do we look at ourselves in the mirror every morning and not take action to protect these innocent children?
Hochul also called for other states and federal government to make a change.
Well, here in Rochester, a legal expert predicting some of the new gun laws in the state could be challenged in court.
The legislation includes stronger red flag laws and stricter rules for obtaining a semi-automatic weapon. Erica DeCoste joining us now live with more on what we can expect. Erica, good morning.
Good morning. Peter Polano with Tully Rinke Law says these mostly target the problems we saw in Buffalo involving how the shooter got the semi-automatic rifle. But what's unique about these new provisions is they're going to include mental health professionals on a larger scale. This is where Polano predicts we'll see the most pushback in courts. The red flag law that originally allows law enforcement and family to petition temporary removal of one's firearms if they believe the person could be dangerous. This has been expanded to add mental health professionals to the list. Some other provisions include raising the age to get a semi-automatic to 21, banning body armor and microstamping bullets and shells. Polano predicts those will have less pushback in courts than the red flag law.
As with much of what we've seen passed in Albany in the last several days, there will be challenges, both state and federal, to what is being passed. The red flag law, obviously, I've already talked about, that could be problematic for some gun owners. Gun owners under 21 seem to be the quickest target. People tend to look to their healthcare professionals as the person they can talk to in confidence. And this may put an actual obligation on them to turn in their own client.
This kind of thing, he says, is not unprecedented in that line of work. If someone may commit a crime, What's changed will remain to be seen. The devil is in the details there as we learn more. In Rochester, Erica Cost, News 8.
Erica, thank you. More on those new gun laws can be found over on our website, rochesterfirst.com. Well, nationally, as Congress returned to Capitol Hill yesterday, talks of a bipartisan gun bill took center stage.
Anna Wernicke is in Washington with the very latest.
Students in bulletproof vests rallied outside the Capitol on Monday, asking Congress to keep their schools safe.
I am more confident than ever that we are going to change the gun laws of this country to make our schools a safer place.
Top Democrat negotiator, Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy says progress is being made to reach a bipartisan deal on gun legislation.
We are in very real discussions right now to try to craft a bill that will make a difference.
Murphy says the proposal in discussion would enhance background checks, include new incentives for states with red flag laws, and includes money for school safety and mental health.
We're not talking about restricting the rights of current law-abiding gun owners or citizens.
Lead Republican negotiator, Texas Senator John Cornyn, told his Republican colleagues on Monday that the deal does not include a weapons ban.
If we're actually serious about finding common ground and building consensus, those sorts of things will stand no chance of passing the Senate.
The president wants action right away, as soon as possible.
The White House says President Biden is urging Congress to go further and pass legislation that would include a ban on assault weapons.
That was Anna Wernicke reporting. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has put pressure on negotiators to come up with a deal this week, though Cornyn added senators should not rush the process, asking for at least one more week to negotiate.
Developing locally, a 49-year-old Rochester man is in the hospital after being stabbed multiple times last night in the city. According to police, this happened around 9:30 p.m. on Frost Avenue. His injury is deemed non-life-threatening. No suspects are in custody, but the investigation remains ongoing.
Here's what some folks will be talking about at the water cooler this morning. The First Lady hosting a special event at the White House to honor former First Lady Nancy Reagan. Reagan is being honored with a new U.S. Postal Service stamp in commemoration of her centennial year, and to look back at her service and contributions as First Lady back in the 1980s. Reagan is the 6th First Lady to be featured on a stamp.
Very cool.
My pleasure.
Nice.
Just like our forecast this morning, James. Kind of cool with the rain.
Yeah, sure. There you go. Yeah, it's interesting. We're above average to start, but below average to finish because numbers aren't moving much. We're in the upper 60s. We'll stay there for most of the day. Temperatures getting into the low 70s this afternoon. Bus stop forecast. There it is. Rain. You see it on the return home, certainly for that early afternoon drop-off. 8-day forecast here, so rain today, maybe a scattered storm mixed in there as well. Wednesday is dry, mostly sunny skies, low 70s there. Thursday, more rain showers. Friday, we clear up, and then we'll keep an eye out for rain showers on Saturday and Sunday. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. We go up and down with the rain chances there, but today is going to be an umbrella-worthy day for us across the region.
All right, we will make do, James. Thank you. That's it for us for now here on News 8 at Sunrise. Our next update is coming up in 30 minutes. CBS Mornings is up next. Have a great day.